on page 9 number Aleph on 87a, towards the bottom, about, I don't know, about 10 lines on the bottom. The first word on the line is, what we're going to start with is Rabbi Yirmiyah Haveli Milsa. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. About 8 lines up, towards the middle of that, it says Rabbi Yirmiyah. So this is page Zayin Amud Aleph, 87a. Yeah. So Rabbi Yirmiyah
is 88a?
87a.
87a.
The last up towards the bottom.
Okay, 8 lines from the bottom?
Yeah. So Yirmiyah Havli Milsa Rabbi but Yehuda had reasons to be cut just joined. We're on 87a, 8 lines from the bottom.
Wait, 87a you say?
Yeah.
Oops.
Rabbi Yirmiyah Havli Milsa Rabbi Rabbi had reasons to have complaints against Rabbi Yirmiyah. Also, Esav Adasha Rabbi, because the story went is that Rabbi Yirmiyah went to sit in front of Rabbi's house. At that time, Rabbi Abba's servants threw water out the window. Mata Zarzife de Maya Areshe, and it fell on his head. Amar, a few drops fell on his head. Amar Asuni Bikashpa, he said it was made into garbage. Kranafshe, in fact, and he sort of, in order, he connected this life story with the pasuk. The pasuk was the Ashmei Yarim. Everyone we say this in Hallel says from the trash Hashem raises the poor. Shama Rababa Benafik La'ape. So Rabbi heard it came to the green Marmalay. Now I have to appease you because because of you, because of my servant. You got some water on you. The chesiv it says the pasuk says you should go and if you bother someone, you should go take care of him and try to appease him. We're on 87a towards the bottom. We're about 4 lines up from the bottom of 87a. The beginning is Rab Zera. Rab Zera ki havele milsa ba'adei not onish when Rab Zera would have reasons to be upset if someone have the cholif with stay lakame umam silei. He would keep on passing in front of him, hoping that the person will take the ability, since he always is passing in front of him, he'll actually take the ability to see him and ask him for forgiveness. The nesiv nipikle midaite. So the person would come out and ask to ask forgiveness on his own. Another incident, Abba havele milsa ba'adei hud habacha. For whatever the reason is, Rabbi Abba had reasons to be upset at that butcher. Like also and the butcher never came in front of him to ask for forgiveness. On one Erev Yom Kippur, it's okay. Today's the day. I'm going to go and try to get him to ask forgiveness from me. Just to point out, not that Rab had a reason for me to have forgiveness. He personally couldn't care less. If someone did something against him, he didn't need the person to ask forgiveness for his own sake. It's for the guy, it's for the person's sake. So he should actually get forgiveness not only in this world but also in the world to come. So he said, I'll go out and try to make I'll try to make myself available for him to ask for forgiveness. Rafuna met him on the way. And Rafuna asked Rab, where is my master going? So he said, so he said, no, I'm going in order to make myself available to so the butcher should ask forgiveness for me. Amar miktal nafsha. So Rafuna had this funny answer. He retorted back, Rabba is going to kill someone. Interesting response. So Azal Abel and Mikdal, also Azal become Ilove. So Rab went and stood in front. This went to the become he stood Ilove in front of the butcher. Hayasu Kapali Resha, who was sitting and cutting an animal. Delay Eni the Chazia. So Delay he picked up his eye and he saw Rab standing in front of him. Amarle, he told him, Abba Adzil Leslie Milsa Bahadach. He said, basically, he told him, go away. I want nothing to do with you. I'm not going to ask for forgiveness for what I did to you, and just get out of here. Badi de kapali ration, while he was cutting the bones of the animal, is megarmo machavi bokeh v'kaple. Something he hit something on the wrong angle, it shot out and hit him in the throat, and he died. So Rafuna's prediction of Rav was going to kill someone turned out to be correct. Okay, but another story. This is the last line in 87a, towards the end of it. Rav Ava have a pasuk sidra kami de Rabba. So Rab was reciting some verses from the Torah. We're turning the page right now. We're turning on to 87b. Also Rabbi Chia, and then Rabbi Chia answered. Hadal Reisha. So Rab went back to going over the verse in order that his student Rabbi Chia should learn something. Oil bar kapra. Then Bar Kappa, another student of Rav, entered. Hadar L'Reisha. Again, he went back to the beginning of the verse, the beginning of the class. Also, Rab Shimon ben Berebi, Hadar L'Reisha. Another student came in. He went to the beginning of the Reisha. Again, he went to the beginning of the class. Also, Chanina Bar Chama, Kulei Hai Neder V'Nozel. And then another student came. Actually, you have 5 students coming late. And the last one, he said, Kulei Hai Neder Neder. Every single, we always have to keep coming back until he didn't go back and he didn't repeat the class for Rabbi Chanina Bar Chama. So Ikbid Rabbi Chanina. So Rabbi Chanina took, he was offended. You went back for everyone else, but you didn't go back for me. Also, Rabbi Lagabi Taleser Ma'aliyam B'Dikippura. So Rab, it took for 13 years, 13 Yom Kippurs, he kept going back to Chanina, his own student, asking for forgiveness for insulting him. And Rabbi Chanina was never appeased. Was never appeased. He never accepted he never asked for, he never asked. He never accepted the forgiveness that Rav was asking of him. So how could it be that Rav so the rule is they're not supposed to ask someone more than 3 times for forgiveness. So here we have 13 years for. So why was it they kept going back? So Rav Shani. So the answer is the Rav was different. So Rashi explains that Rav was different because he was on a different level than everyone. He was just more. So the answer is that he was more stringent in himself, meaning that this idea of 3 times is not really a set in law. It's just for yourself. You don't have to kill yourself for trying to get someone to ask someone forgiveness if he doesn't do it. If you are real 3 times and he kept on pushing you away. So it looks like, according to Rashi at least, that this idea of going back 3 times is not a rule. It's more of a suggestion for yourself. But if you want to be more, if you want to take it to the next level, then you're allowed to go more than 3 attempts. The other do argue that one is not allowed to do more than 3 at all. But since this is his teacher, he was allowed. If there was other reasons why his teacher is allowed to ask forgiveness more than 3 times. Now continue. Rabbi Chanina, how could Rabbi Chanina have done that? How could Rabbi Chanina for 13 years not ask for not accept the forgiveness that his Rebbe was asking him? It doesn't make sense. Rava said that the Torah writes that someone is Mavra Midaisav, someone who gives up, he goes against natural tendency. His natural tendency obviously was not to give for forgiveness. Someone goes against his natural tendency and sort of beats his own characteristics, then Hashem will sort of wipe his slate clean. So he had a perfect opportunity. Why is the Rav Chanina didn't go ahead and ask for forgiveness, accept the forgiveness of Rav, and then he would, obviously was going against his own characteristic. So Ella Rav Chanina Chel Machazi Rav. So interestingly, Rav Chanina had a dream about Rav, Zekafu B'Dikla, that Rav was hanging or he was on a palm tree. The Gemara calls Zekafu B'Dikla, and it's known that there's story. It's known that someone has a dream, someone hanging on a palm tree. He'll become a big leader. I see from here that Rav was going to end up being a head of a big yeshiva. Therefore, I'm not going to appease him. In order that he goes to Bavel. So apparently, Rav Chanina was. Rav Chanina saw in a dream that Rav was supposed to become the master of the academy. Apparently, I was saying Rav Chanina was a Talmud of Rav, was a student. I guess not. Rav Chanina was already the master of the Torah Academy, and I guess in Eretz Yisrael, he didn't want him to take over because wherever the reason was, there's different reasons. He wanted to be afraid he was going to die early. If Rav takes him over, he'll end up dying. So in order to save his own life, he was never giving forgiveness to Rav, and therefore that was sort of forced Rav would never. Since he offended him one time, he's not going to offend him the second time. Therefore, he'll go off to Bavel and become, if the dream will be fulfilled, then Bavel will become a master of academy. So just there was a bit of he saw the future for whatever the reason was. So he decided never to forgive him for other reasons. Okay, Tana Rabbanan. Mitzvahs avidu Yom Kippurim im chashecha. So the mitzvah of confession on Yom Kippur starts at the night, in the evening, on right after during on Yom Kippur evening, the night. Avol Amar Chacham is vada kadim sheichal vishta. But once that we should confess before we eat and we drink on Erev Yom Kippur. Shema titarev dag to be sudusa. Maybe you'll lose yourself, or perhaps you'll get too full and you won't have time to do it that evening. Which we do, by the way, because mincha Erev Yom Kippur, before we sit down for the Suda, seconds before we sit down for the Suda before Yom Kippur, that's what we do. We go to shul, and in our silent Shemona Esrei we actually misvada. we do the vidui. So we're afraid that and even if you went and he did confess before the Suda, before Ma'ariv, you still do it again, which we do again, Ma'ariv, after we finish eating, we go to Shul, and again we do vidui. Shema ira davar kakal besuda, unless something happened during the meal, which he sinned. So maybe perhaps he'll sin. Therefore, we have to do vidui again, because really, if we come, the point is Yom Kippur is supposed to be mechaper, supposed to forgive us for everything. So if Erev Yom Kippur I said vidui, so my slate is clean. I come into Yom Kippur, I'm done, finished. I've pretty much fulfilled my entire Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur will be mechaper me, and I already confessed everything. But maybe during the Suda, we did something wrong. Therefore, we do it again during Ma'ariv, and subsequently throughout the day, because we're afraid we might have sinned again. Even though you went through vidui confession on Ma'ariv, there you still do it in the morning. Shachar svada musaf, even though you did shachar, still do musaf. Musaf svada mincha, even though we do by mincha. Mincha is svada benila. By mincha we also, even though we did confession by mincha, we also do by neila. Now, Hechen Amr, what is called vidui? Well, what's the process? What do we recite? Yachid achar tefillah. When do you do it? So that's what we do. An individual does it after after the silent Shemoneh Esrei, right? Before we take our 3 steps back, we go through the entire vidui process. Personally, the shliach tzibur Amr ben Emsa, and when it comes to the shliach tzibur, he does it also. If you go through the Chazar Shashat, if you go through if you go through the Chazan's recital, you also see we do it during his recital, not at the end. Now, my Amar, what do you say to properly go through vidui? And Rab, you go through the verses of the secrets of the world, which we do say. I do not think we recite this at all. And Levi writes, and you write that in the verses following the line, and in your Torah writes as follows. Rabbi has a whole prayer that starts with Rabbeinu Ha'olam. Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yehuda had his own personal formula, and that was, our sins are so great we cannot count them. We cannot count them. Now there's another prayer. Rav Hamnuna Amar Elikai Atshlei Nitzarti Ene Kedai, and this is what we do recite. That the translation of Elikai, our Lord, Atshlei Nitzarti Ene Kedai. Before I was formed, I was useless. I was unworthy. After Nitzarti Kilo Nitzarti, and now that I was formed, as if I wasn't formed, meaning I'm still unworthy. Afarni Bechayai, I am dust and like Havachamer B'Misasi. For sure, when I die, I'm useless. I'm like a vessel filled with shame. I'm praying that, maybe you will, that I do not sin again. And that which I have already sinned, you should sort of wipe away with your mercy. But I'm asking you not to be not through suffering. That we shouldn't have pain be the process of wiping us clean. Rather, should be mercy. And this is the type of vidui that Rabbi did all year round. But Rav Hamnuna Zuta b'Yom Kippur. However, Rav Hamnuna only did this Rav Hamnuna Zuta was his name, rather. The smaller Rav Hamnuna, that he would only say this on Yom Kippur, like we only say that on Yom Kippur. The truth is, we do say it the second time on Yom Kippur Katan, on the day before Erev, the mincha before or Chodesh. A lot of people have a type of a custom to go ahead and recite a very long vidui and go through slichus, and that's another time when we actually say this, and we also say it on fasts. Okay, now Amar Rav Zutra loy amrin and ela deloy Amar aval and anach. So Amar Rav Zutra, Rav said the following: loy amrin and ela deloy Amar aval anachnu chatanu. That this whole everything that we recited before that but we have recited from aval anachnu chatanu, but we've sinned of Amar aval anachnu chatanu. But that's only if you didn't say vidui. But once someone says vidui, you don't say those words aval nachnu chatanu, which is true. If you look in the siddur, aval nachnu chatanu is going to be before you actually say the vidui and you strike your chest. Sulei tzarach. But once you say it, you don't do it. The Amar Rav Hamduya, because Rav Hamduya said, Hava kamina kamei d'shmol. I was standing from the shmol. V'Hava Yosef, and he was sitting. I was standing. He was sitting. V'chimat shlicha d'spur v'Amar. And when the shliach tzibur, the one leading, got to the point, aval nachnu chatanu, I have sinned. Kam kamei, he got up. Amar, so Rav Nuda said, Shmamina, Iker vidoi haihu. So we learn from here that since he got up right after the words, Avalachta Chatanu, we see that after Chatanu is not the main words. It's what comes afterwards. We say, which I'm assuming it doesn't say that here. I'm saying that's when you strike your chest. Now we're going to start talking about Ne'ilah, the last prayer on Yom Kippur. Tanan Hasan, we learned somewhere. Shaisa Prakim Bashana, 3 times a year. Kaihanim Leisim Kapehem Arba Pa'amim. It's 3 times a year that the Kaihanim go up and they duchen and they give us the and they give us the priestly blessing 4 times a year. So they usually the most you usually get is twice, right? 3 times, I guess. You have Shachars, where they go up there and they give us the priestly blessing. You have Musaf and Mincha in the base of Mikdash. Now, there are 3 times a year when they do it 4 times. So what's that extra? Ne'ilah. Ne'ilah is the 4th time when we do it. So that's because you have 4 prayers on that day. But on Yom Kippur we have 5 Shemoneh Esreis, but during the day Yom Kippur is only 4 because Meir is the day the night before. So Ve'elu Shleish Prakim Bizra 3 times. The Tainis on the Tainis, Umama'adais, and on holidays, Ubayom HaKippurim, and on Yom Kippur. Now, Mamadais is not really, sorry, take it back. It's not really holidays. It's the time when they cycle through that. The Maimid were the Kaihanim were split into 24 groups. And the year was split into 24 groups, and they each had 2 weeks, I think. 2 weeks. And now, during that time, corresponding to the 2 weeks was the Israelites also had their representatives being in the base of Mikdash, and that was called Mamadais. So whenever this change happened, they also have sort of a mini Yom Kippur. Okay, now we're continuing on into the about Ne'ilah. Now, so we're 2 lines up from the thin line. 2 lines up from the thin lines on 87b. My Ne'ilah Sharm. So what is the Ne'ilah Sharm? Meaning Ne'ilah. What is the closing of the gates? Rav Amar Shlusa Yisei Rasa. It's an extra prayer. Shmuel Amar, Shmuel says, Ma Anu meaning according to Rab, it's a whole extra Shemoneh Esrei. That's what we do, right? We have an extra Shemoneh Esrei, it's a 4th Shemoneh Esrei. But Shmuel said, no, Manu Chayinu. All you really say is, you just go through a vidui process. Now, Meisvei, so we have a question. Are Yom Kippurim Mispalel? So this idea of Shmuel, let's say that's not Shemoneh Esrei, rather it's just a short vidui. We have a question on it. Meisvei, Are Yom Kippurim Mispalel Shabbat Vizvadet? That on Yom Kippur, we pray on the night of Yom Kippur. We pray 7. We have a Shemoneh Esrei. It consists of 7 blessings, and then you say vidui. Shachar Spal Shabbat Misvada. You have another Shemoneh Esrei of 7 blessings, and you say vidui. Musaf Spal Shabbat Misvada. Musaf you have another blessing of 7, and you say vidui. The Mincha Spal Shabbat Misvada. Mincha also you pray 7. You have a Shemoneh Esrei consisting of 7 blessings, and then you say vidui. Also in Ne'ilah you have a prayer of 7, and you say vidui. So right over there we have I don't think we finished the question, but right over there we have a question on Shmuel. According to Shmuel, we don't say an extra Shemoneh Esrei. All you do is say the vidui process. Over here we have a brisa telling us clearly that Ne'ilah is part of the process. It is has a silent Shemoneh Esrei as well. So that is a question. Now and also Shemoneh Esrei of Ne'ilah we finish off with vidui. So Rabbi Shmuel is wrong. It's not vidui by itself. It's Shemoneh Esrei plus the vidui. Divri Remeir. That's Remeir. Chaymayim mispal sheva. The imratza lachtan bevidui chaysem shifted to Shmuel. And interestingly, the rabbis say that the Shemoneh Esrei of Ne'ilah does not have to consist of vidui only if you want to. But the point is, it's not like Shmuel. Shmuel said there's no Shemoneh Esrei. So shifted to Shmuel. It's a question of Shmuel. Tifta straight. Shmuel is obviously wrong. Ula bar Rav Nachas Kmei de Rava. So Ula, the son of Rava, went down before. The Ula, the son of Rav, went down in front of Rava. Pasach ba'ata b'chartanu. In Mil Nila, he started saying the blessings of Ata b'chartanu that we do. Thanking Kadosh Baruch Hu for choosing us as a chosen nation. Sim b'mana chayinu. He ended up with a blessing of mana chayinu. V'shapche, and Rava remained quiet. Now, Rav Huna braid Rav Nasan Amar v'yachid Amra achar tfilasei. That so it looks like he was going like Shmuel, because Shmuel is the one that said that we should throw in these words of Ma'anu Chayenu. The Shabchei, and Rava praised him, meaning he didn't argue with him, but why? It's not what we do. Rav Huna braid Rav Nasan Amar v'yachid Amra achar tfilasei. So according to everyone, so Rav Huna said like this. Rav Huna explains what happened. That this idea that we do the 7, the blessing of 7, then we don't do vidui after. The question if we do vidui afterwards, that's in the starting Shemona Esrei. When it comes to not the individual reciting it, but to the congregation reciting it together with the chazan, then there is no vidui in the ne'ilah davening. Amar Rav said, "Tfilas neilas pateris shel harvis." That if someone davens the ilah, he doesn't have to daven ma'ariv of the regular ma'ariv that we recite right after the ilah. Right after finishing ilah, we go straight to Baruch Hu. You don't have to do it. You're good. Rav Tamei, because Rav is going through his own reasoning. The Amar Tzlusa Yisei Ne'ilah is really a whole extra blessing. And since you recited a blessing, you don't have to recite another one that night. Meaning that Ne'ilah is really all extra. It's not really part of the daily structure. So Yom Kippur structure is not a daily structure. It's not an obligation on the day itself. It's an obligation more of Yom Kippur. Therefore, you did now Ma'ariv technically, if you do the timing right. You daven. Ma'ariv is about that. Ma'ariv is supposed to daven Shemona Esrei at night, and you already daven Shemona Esrei. You said an Elah, so it takes care of both at once. It takes care of the Yom Kippur obligation. It takes care of the daily obligation. So now, but we do have this problem with this idea. But me, Amar Rav, Rav really say that. But Amar Rav, that Tfilas Arvis is an obligation. So anyway, he doesn't have to daven Ma'ariv. Right? Well, there's a machlekes and brachas. If you have to have a ma'ariv, it's a rishus. If you don't, if it's up to you, or it's a chiyuv. You have to. So according to Rab, he's saying that. Interestingly, he's saying that ne'ilah takes care of ma'ariv. Meaning, it sounds like you have to have a ma'ariv, and ne'ilah takes care of that. But it's not true because according to Rab himself, you don't have to have a ma'ariv. So why is he even saying this? It sounds as if you have to have a ma'ariv. Oh, and also ne'ilah takes care of it. No, well, Rab never said it. Rab never mentioned anything about ma'ariv. You don't have to have a ma'ariv. You don't have to have a ma'ariv according to Rab. The Devar Merchayv Rabbi saying no, according to the one that holds that you have to daven Ma'ariv. Don't worry, you don't have to daven Ma'ariv on the night of Yom Kippur after Yom Kippur because you already daven Ne'ilah. Meisvei. Now we have another question. Yom Kippur Mispal Shavah Mispal down the night of Yom Kippur. You daven 7 and you daven 7 and you do Bidui. 7 blessings, which Shemona Esrei, and then you recite Bidui. Shachar Shavah Mispal in the morning also you recite the 7 blessings and again you recite Bidui. Musaf Shavah Mispal the same thing. Musaf Benilas Mispal Shavah Mispal. B'Ne'ilah you also recite I don't know why we skipped mincha, but okay. Milas misval shava. In Elah, you also you say Shemona Esrei, and also you say and you do vidui as well. Arvis pal shava me'ain Shemona Esrei. After Yom Kippur, the Ma'ariv evening prayers after Yom Kippur, you say also a me'ain shava. You also say a short Shemona Esrei. You don't say the full 18. You say a shorter version of it. Mispal Shemona Esrei Shleimus. However, Kanina argued, Kanina said that we go ahead and recite 18, the regular Shemona Esrei, return to the top of 88a. Now, the reason why it's a technicality, really, the night of after Ma'ariv, you still get away with 7, even though it's not Yom Kippur, but we have technicality. We got to throw in a Havdalah in the beginning over there in Shemona Esrei. Therefore, we have no choice. We do the 18. So we see from here, this is not like Rab. We do have to daven. According to Rab, you could daven the 7, you could daven the Elah, which is 7, and then you're done with Ma'ariv. Well, here we say, no, you got to daven a prayer of 18. So obviously, that Ne'ilah is not going to take care of it. Ne'ilah is not 18, it's only 7. Therefore, you have to go back right afterwards and daven again. So it's a contradiction against Rab. So tonight, the question if Ne'ilah could actually take the place of Ma'ariv is a machlekes, an early machlekes among the Tanaim. The Tanya Kol Chayav Yitvilos Tevlin Kedarkan B'Yom Kippur. Whoever who is obligated to go to the mikvah is permitted to go to the mikvah on Yom Kippur. Nida v'yaledes, nida, or to give birth, tevelos kedarkan b'yom Yom Kippur. They are supposed to only go to the mikvah at night. Therefore, they could go on the night of Yom Kippur, which we don't go like. But back then they were allowed to. Baal kari a Baal kari, someone who saw a man who saw a mission who wants to go immerse himself before he goes to daven, because he wants to daven in a state of purity, especially in Yom Kippur. He's allowed to do it until mincha time. Maybe say Kollel. Rabbi said you could, in fact, go to immerse in the Baal kari. The man that sees a mission could go immerse himself the entire day. Now, the reason why we would say about Keri to go to Mincha, because after Mincha time, after evening times, let's say a few minutes left to Yom Kippur, you're not supposed to bathe on Yom Kippur. So if you want to go to purify yourself for davening, we understand. But if it's the last few minutes of Yom Kippur and you already daven Mincha and Elah, there's no reason for you to go to the mikvah. Therefore, we rather you don't just wait an hour or so till after Yom Kippur. Now we have a problem with this price. For minute, we have another brisa which is going to contradict it. Azav, Mitzvah, so Baal Nidas to me Mesam, Azav, a man that sees a certain type of mission, Azava, a woman, a Mitzvah, all these people, they could go to the mikvah regularly on Yom Kippur. Nida v'yaladas, a woman who's a nida and a woman that gave birth. They could go on the night of Yom Kippur because they only allowed to go at night anyway. Balkari, a Balkari, a man who sees an emission, he could go anytime on Yom Kippur. However, Rabbi says from Mincha onwards, you're not allowed to go ahead. Now, if you look previously, your Rabbi said, call him kulei. One Bryce says a man that says he sees a mission, go to the mikvah the entire day. This Bryce says only from before mincha, not after mincha towards the evening. So this is a contradiction. Like Asha, it's not a contradiction. How the tzali tfilas ne'ilah? Yeah.
Please position on. Are we on page 10 now?
Yes, we are on 88a. About 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12 lines on bottom. Last one in the word is sleep. Last one is tzali, to daven.
Okay.
Like Asha, how did tzali tefillin ilah? How did tzali? No, it's not a question. Rabbi says as follows: if you already daven ilah, then if he finished the ilah, meaning he finished prayers for the entire day, there's no reason to go to the mikvah. Just wait it out. There's no reason to go to the mikvah because even though you want to daven purity, but you're done your prayer. So why would you go to the mikvah? That's when Rabbi says he shouldn't go to the mikvah. And when does Rabbi say you could go to the mikvah? When he didn't recite Nila yet. If he didn't recite Nila yet, then of course he can still go to the mikvah in order to recite Nila with purity. Now, if we're talking about a case that he already davened, my time is the Rabbanan. Why is anyone arguing Rabbi? If he didn't, if he already did the Nila prayers, then why would the rabbis permit him to go to the mikvah? Something doesn't make sense here. So, Kasei Rabbanan tefillah bezman mitzvah. The reason is it's a whole different story. Nothing to do with going to the mikvah and getting pure for prayers. The reason is because the question is that if someone goes to the mikvah on the time that he's supposed to, the Torah says you're supposed to go to the mikvah, supposed to go to the mikvah, say at nighttime, have 7 days, so on, so you do the math. Is it a mitzvah to go early, unless your husband's not in town, so who cares? Well, you should go a week later. So there's an idea that going to the mikvah itself for a man or a woman is a mitzvah in itself. It's a commandment. Therefore, one should go on time. So that's the machlekes. So the Rabbanan held that going to the mikvah on time is the mitzvah itself. Even though he already davened Nila, still he should go to the mikvah, even though he already davened Nila. Right? So no, it's not necessarily a mitzvah to go to go to the mikvah to immerse himself on the right time. Therefore, once he davened Nila, he should not continue. There's no reason for him to do. He should wait till the night. So mechad, Rabbi Yisrael have a lot mitzvah. So we see from here, obviously, Rabbi Yisrael holds that's not a mitzvah because once he davened Nila, there's no reason. And today is the day he's supposed to go to the mikvah. And Rabbi says, don't go to the mikvah because you already davened, so there's no reason to purify yourself. So he must hold that it's not a mitzvah, it's not a positive commandment to go to the mikvah at the right time. That time we learned elsewhere that this is not so. We're going to learn that Rabbi held that it is a mitzvah to go on time. Let's say someone wrote the name of God on his hand. He should not supposed to wash it off. He shouldn't anoint himself because it's going natural. We don't want the name of Hashem to be erased. He can't stand in a dirty place because he has God's name written on him. Let's say if he wrote God's name on him and he has to go to the mikvah, we say not supposed to go into the water because we don't want to erase it. He should wrap like something around it. He should put some type of rubber or some type of grass over it in order to protect it and go into the mikvah. Risa said no, he should go in as regular, and if it gets erased, it gets erased. So he should not rub on that area. So I'm assuming the question is that according to Rabbi, it says one's not to go into the mikvah, even though Hashem's name is on him. But why? He should wait it out till it naturally goes away. According to Rabbi, it is necessary to go to the tefillah, even though you might end up erasing a place for okay, so just don't wipe it off. So you're not actively wiping it away, but you should descend and immerse yourself because it's obviously according to Rabbi a mitzvah to go to the mikvah at the right time. But on Yom Kippur, Rabbi said once you daven Ilah, you shouldn't go to the mikvah if you're about carry. Why not? Because you already prayed. But what about this idea that it's a positive command to go to the mikvah at the right time? Must be based on there's no such rule. But over here, by the case of God's name on the name, he's saying you should go immerse yourself in the God's name on your hand. Therefore, we see that he who so it is a mitzvah. That's how the Gemara builds a question. Now, so the answer is no. The one that says you're allowed to go to the mikvah, you're not supposed to go to the mikvah after you daven Ni'ilah on Yom Kippur. That's not the Rabbi of our previous price. So that said that it's a mitzvah to go to the mikvah time. Rather, it's a different Rabbi. The time because you learned Rabbi about Yehuda that according to him that you're able to go to mikvah the last second after the appointed time. So you see from here he doesn't hold that it is a problem. we're up to about 10 lines from, or whatever we want to do. We're up to about, I don't know, 10 to 11 lines from the bottom of the parak. When someone sees an emission on Yom Kippur, he should go down to the mikvah and immerse himself in Erev Shafshef. And in fact, you should go ahead and actually wash your butt. Before you go to the mikvah, you're supposed to wash yourself with a hot bath. And he should, even on Yom Kippur, go do that, even though you would think that it's usher to do Yom Kippur, you're not allowed to go take a bath, but for a mitzvah, you are permitted to have in the evening. Might have it. But what do you mean? He already went to the mikvah. It looks like that you already went to the mikvah. So why would you take a bath after you went to the mikvah? Rather means from the evening before that. Okay. Before you go to the mikvah, you could go take a bath. The Tanakh made Rabbi Nachman Harikar Yom Kippur. Someone sees an emission on Yom Kippur. All his sins will be forgiven, as if it's a positive for him. But we learned also that his sins are going to be arranged, meaning that his sins are going to be arranged, and it's going to be brought in front of the heavenly court. And it's going to be, if you see an emission on Yom Kippur, it's even worse. So no, Masud doesn't mean that it will be arranged. His sins will be arranged. They're going to be arranged to be forgiven. So it's a positive thing to see an emission on Yom Kippur. So Rabbi Shmuel is not so simple. Someone says sees a seventh emission on Yom Kippur, you should worry the whole year, because assumingly it's because it's someone as Kadosh Baruch Hu makes it that you end up having a mission on Yom Kippur. He doesn't care too much about you. He's willing for you to be impure on Yom Kippur. However, if he survives the year, then it must be assured that he is a very highly righteous person. And the reason is that he didn't need Yom Kippur. He was impure on Yom Kippur. Sounds pretty bad. But the answer is no. He survived the whole year, so must be there's no harsh punishment against him. So must be he was impure on Yom Kippur because he naturally did not need Yom Kippur. Therefore, Baruch didn't care. He got an emission. We're going to finish this up. Another way to look at it is that the entire world was deprived of any pleasure, and he got a little bit of pleasure. Therefore, obviously, Kadosh Baruch Hu sort of looks down kindly on him. He also Rabbi Amar Ma Peschaye Sagi Umaske. That when Rabbi came in and said a similar story, someone ended up having a mission, he said he'll live long, he will have many children for many generations. So I can't say how Yom Kippurim, because I go himself to some of you could. And tomorrow we'll start Sukkah. We'll start 5 minutes earlier. There was a request that people could go to Mincha on time. So no one objected. So I guess we'll start 6:10 tomorrow. If anyone has any objections, you can reach out to me. You could PM or complain on the chat. But the idea is that since people are in the Kollel, not in next, used to be we were next door, so you just get up and go straight to the minyan. Now people are in the Kollel and they still have to get next door and prepare themselves, so the extra 5 minutes will be helpful. So for tomorrow, we'll try to go from 6:10 to 6:55.